Live. Well, hello everybody. Welcome to a special event on photography and marketing and business and this kind of thing. This is a special event inside the Arcanum, and it's actually within the Level 20 Lounge, which is sort of a holding place for all these great apprentices that have been through the Arcanum. They've leveled up from level 1 to level 20 through their various masters, and now they're kind of waiting in another orphanage for a level 30 master to come pick them and then take them on their next set of quests as they continue to level up. So in the meantime, we like to do fun events like this, and for this one in particular, I've invited my good friend and the most awesome Frederick Van Johnson here. Hello, Fred. How are you?
Hey, Trey. Hey, and hi, cohort. It's good to be here.
Cool. And then let's just go real briefly here, and everyone just say hello. That's joined us. We'll start from my right to my left. You can just give your name and website and something like that. If that sounds all right. Okay, so Wes, you go first.
You bet. I'm Wes Hardiker. I'm from Verena Patel's cohort, and my website is capturedonearth.com.
Cool. Thanks, Wes. All right, TW, Tanya Wallace, go. I think TW's got some bad Australian internet problems.
There she goes.
Yeah.
No, she didn't.
Yeah. She's all pixelated. I thought I was watching Japanese porn for a second, Fred.
It's too early for that.
You went to that one down, Trey.
Never too early for that, Fred. I don't know what time it is in Australia. Okay. Margaret, you're up next.
I'm Margaret Gaines. I'm from Karen Hutton's cohort, and my images can be found at margaretgaines.smugmug.com.
Cool. All right, thank you. Mandy, you jumped in late. Do you know what we're doing? Introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm Mandy, and I'm from Wollongong in Australia, which is just south of Sydney, and I'm in Laurie Rubin's, or I was in Laurie Rubin's wildlife cohort.
Awesome. The great Laurie Rubin. Okay, Laurie, you are next.
I'm Lori Novak, and I can be found at lorinovakphotography.com, and I was in Karen Hutton's cohort, and I'm still floundering there at the moment, but I'll be out this week.
All right, cool. By the way, it seems like most level 20 people are the ladies. The ladies are really showing up the men. They are just zooming through to level 20. It's unbelievable. Okay, Dave, you're up next.
Hi, I'm Dave Garber. I'm also from Karen Hutton's cohort, and you can find my work at garbergeektography.com.
Geektography, nice. I like that.
Awesome. Another graduate from Karen the Hut. Okay, Bob, you're up.
I'm Bob Young. I'm an escapee from Karen Hutton's cohort as well, and my photography can be found at ashevillevisions.com.
All right, cool. Thanks, Bob. So here's what we're going to do today for people that are watching. Fred and I are just going to talk loosely here about marketing and business and photography and internet, that kind of stuff, for maybe 10 minutes or so. And then we'll just take questions from people here in the Level 20 Lounge that want to ask whatever wild card question they want to ask to Fred. All right, Fred, how's it going?
It's going good. I'm excited to talk about this. I don't know if we're going to be able to fit it all in this 30 minutes that you've allotted for this, because it's like, we are going to talk about, it's like an iceberg, and we're not going to talk about the tip of the iceberg. We're going to talk about a snowball on the iceberg. But I think we can get some good stuff.
Yeah, we'll talk about a cute penguin just taking a nosedive off the iceberg.
There you go, doing a little tap dance.
Hey, but and we didn't actually talk about this beforehand, but if people wanted to find out more, you actually have a lot of marketing type stuff on your website, right?
Mm-hmm. I do, and more coming. Yeah, so we've got a site called visphoto.com is the kind of the hub of everything right now, and there's a marketing tutorial on that site called Marketing for Photographers that is available for download and streaming. So we do that, and we're on the cusp of launching a bunch of other digital products up there. But enough about me. So yeah, that's all we do a show. So one thing more about me is, so This Week in Photo was one photography podcast, and we're up to episode number, I think 388 or something like that right now of a weekly show. and we are so the show itself has kind of bifurcated itself out into multiple shows, a network of shows, if you will, on different genres of photography. So, and they're all free, obviously. So definitely go check that out as you have hours and hours of spare time in your schedule. It's all at thisweekinphoto.com/subscribe is where they're all listed. There's 5 up there now, 5 shows, and probably by Marchish time frame there'll be another 7 added, different photography genres, including landscape and on and on and on. So,
whoa, awesome. Well, so speaking of time, this is the thing that I feel like hardly anyone has any more, right? At first I thought like, well, I know that I'm busy, personally busy. I've got a lot of things going on just in the Trey Ratcliffe situation, and I know the same thing with you, Fred. But I actually think this is the case with everybody. I think everybody's super overwhelmed all the time, and especially if you're just kind of getting your photography business going or whatever. So if you only have like X amount of time to spend on marketing, which isn't much, X is a small number, let's talk about how best to spend that time. So one thing I wanted to bring up with you first is that marketing is the thing that always seems to be changing and evolving year after year on the internet. So here we are, going in 2015. What have you seen that has emerged as something cool or different in the past 18 months? Yeah. What's new that you notice?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff, and I think the main thing, the good thing about all this stuff is as new things show up, things are getting more and more easy, or getting easier in terms of accessibility for people that don't necessarily want to make a living at becoming a marketer, or they don't geek out on online marketing and social media like some other people do, like Trey. But but you want to be a photographer. You want to go out and be shooting all the time. So how do you, like Trey, what you're saying is, how do you reconcile being that photographer with this other stuff, and then what's new out there over the last 18 months to make that easier? And I'd say that's a hard question, because the answer generally is always it depends, right? So it depends on what your ultimate goal is. Like in the Stuck in Customs world or the Arcanum world, it's the goals may be different than for landscape photographer that just wants to have feedback on his or her work, or sports photographer who wants to sell stuff and book more clients. So the things that are out there, the tools that are available shift. But from a high level, some of the cool things that are out there, like if you're selling stuff online, whether it's a print or training, whatever you're selling, there's a service called Gumroad that is on the market right now. You may have heard of it, Gumroad, Gumroad. And these guys they're really, really cool. And I've talked to the founder a couple times and had lunch with them. They're based here in the Bay Area. And what they do is they are designed, much like Patreon, Trey, but they're designed to allow people that create digital media to sell it or promote it on your site without having to become like a full-fledged e-commerce platform. It's almost like a YouTube video. It's almost like you upload a YouTube video and you get that embed code and you can put it on your blog or social media or whatever. Same thing with these guys. So, but instead of that YouTube video, you upload a zip file and attach a price to it, and now you can sell your thing wherever you want to sell it. So if you're selling stuff online, services like this make it insanely easy to start selling things, whether it's your own work or gallery or whatever, initially out of the box. So these kinds of services like Gumroad are popping up all over the place and making it less of a chore to Frankenstein all these different pieces together just to get to the point where you can start monetizing your efforts.
So is this, would you say that this is, I've got it highlighted now, I'm kind of clicking on it, but is this it's like a shopping cart, it's like a whole store that you don't have to host on your own website?
Exactly. Yeah. You may, Trey, you may be familiar, or you are familiar with eJunkie, right? So they're like eJunkie if Apple bought them and redid it. So it's kind of like that flow. There's a couple of little Achilles heels in there, that like folks like you, Trey. I know that there's some missing pieces like affiliate marketing and things like that that I think they will be adding if they haven't yet. But other than that, it's a crazy simple service to use, and I think it might even be free for a certain level of photographer or a certain level of digital marketer. So yeah, so services like that. MailChimp is another service that I use for email marketing. If you haven't heard of those guys, MailChimp, MailChimp.com, and I recommend them a lot for people that are jumping into this stuff. Again, because of the user interface for a service like that is really simple. And we can talk about email if you want, Trey. But the user interface is simple, and it's very clean and approachable, and it's free, again, for a list up to, I think, 500. Which is a lot. So you can start building out this stuff and building your infrastructure for little to no money, and then start generating revenue without a whole lot of overhead, going into the game.
What one thing that I think a lot of photographers want to do and they envision themselves doing is selling prints on the internet, right?
Yeah.
And people ask me this question all the time, and I'm not always sure I have the best advice to give them. I'd like to give really good advice, but I don't know if I have it. I've got some ideas and stuff like that sometimes kind of work. But what do you say to this? What is your answer? Do you have some recommendations?
Yeah. I mean, I'm a big fan of SmugMug, and I have been for a while. I like what they're doing over there, and I like the kind of the DNA of the company. Because it's beyond just the pixels and the credit card processing and all that. They're hearts and minds seem to be in the right place when it comes to the kind of work that we as image makers and content creators do. So I kind of like SmugMug, especially after their redesign. But and again, it depends, right? So if you want to sell one-off landscape gallery type photography, a company like SmugMug, and there's some others we can go through later, but SmugMug is one of them. But then if you're doing, say, event style photography, you're out and or say it's even models. You're shooting models and you want to deliver proofs to them, or you're doing a wedding, you want to deliver proofs, or corporate headshots, you need to deliver proofs and allow them to purchase from there. There's a company called Pixieset, Pixieset.com, which is really awesome. Again, back in that things are simple now. They do one thing and they do it well and they make you look good in front of your clients. So I mean, you could do gallery sales through a company like Pixieset as well, but they're very clean in terms of being responsive, and making your image look great across all devices, and their brand is deprecated or almost invisible when people are looking at your site. So people see your brand and all that stuff. So really cool, and it's again, really inexpensive to get a really responsive kind of gallery for sale area for your clients. So, and then with these guys, they also allow the concept of digital delivery. So you could sell high resolution versions of your prints if you want to, of your images, or restrict that so no one can purchase those, or if they want to buy the rights to it, then it's $1 million, or those sorts of things. So it's really, really, really a clean implementation.
Cool. Yeah,
had you seen these guys before, Trey?
No, I haven't heard of them before. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah. Really, really clean. I use them a lot for a lot of client work that I do, and it's simple. You upload the thing, and you upload your gallery of files out of Lightroom, and everybody's happy. You can, just like SmugMug though, you can assign different price lists to different clients, so that depending on the type of job, they're being charged different things. You can connect them with your lab. I think right now they're connected with Bay Photo and White House Color, and probably MPix, I believe. So if you want to go that route, you can do that, or do the self-fulfillment if you print yourself, all that kind of thing. So again, it all depends on what you're doing. If you want to be completely hands-off so that you can go live somewhere else and not be bothered by clients all the time, you can do something like with SmugMug and have things drop shipped off to your client. But it depends on what your end result is, what your brand is, and what your goals are.
Right on. Well, so when you start mentioning this kind of stuff, of course you got to pull from your network and send it to these various sites so people buy your stuff or whatever.
Right.
Let's just talk for a quick second before we go to questions from level 20ers about Facebook and marketing on Facebook and how that's going to change in 2015.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? And can you kind of give a synopsis of what's going to happen for people that don't know what we're talking about?
Yeah. Well, I would bounce that back to you because you are deep. You are deeper into Facebook than I am. You know, so I am. Oh, look at that! I didn't know they had pop-ups now on comments. You know, in Facebook or in the Facebook world, I'm becoming more and more of a curmudgeon, Trey.
Yeah.
So, and I'm seeing Facebook as like the necessary evil, you know, so you have to use it to you know, especially if you're in business, but there's that, you know, it seems to be becoming more and more polluted for a lot of stuff. So, you know, but yeah, you're right. I mean, as folks know, from a base level, Facebook has an uncountable number of users on there, so you cannot ignore it from a marketing standpoint. On the positive side of Facebook, I mean, what they've done is just insane. It's next to amazing. The forward momentum that they have and the reach and the granularity of that reach that you can purchase to get to your end users. So you could say, you know, if you buy advertising on Facebook, you could say, you know what, I'm looking for males 35 to 50 in this income bracket that live in this, somewhere within these 4 zip codes that comb their hair from front to back. You know, so
Right.
Maybe not that granular, but you know, you get the idea. So you can niche it down, and it says, oh, your message will reach 2.3 million people or 5,000 people or whatever, and then you purchase that and target it instead of spraying and praying across the entire internet. So that kind of granularity from a high level is important. One of the things on Facebook, though, which is kind of disheartening, is, I guess, you know, it's the other side of that coin. So a lot of people that get on Facebook say, hey, you know, like Trey's, what do you have, 7 trillion fans on there? So Trey has 7 trillion fans. Whenever he posts something on Facebook, 7 trillion people see it. Untrue. So Facebook has an algorithm, and they figure out whom they want to show Trey's post to. If Trey wants to show it to more of that 7 trillion, he has to pay money in order to increase the exposure of that, and that's where the monetization of Facebook happens. So what do you think differently about that, Trey? What are your thoughts? I'm curious.
Well, I am deep into Facebook. I'm like elbow deep, like that scene from City Slickers. And what I think is going to happen in 2015 is...
Why would you say something like that?
Well, I'm visual. I'm just trying to paint a picture of a scene.
Yeah,
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. I lost my watch in Facebook. See, I'm not... Okay, look. So, a few things. First, let me talk about marketing, then we'll talk about something else, or what you were talking about, buying the ads.
Yep.
I have actually tried buying ads on Facebook, like maybe twice, 3 times, just to see what it's like, and it is pretty cool and granular. I don't actually think it works that well, honestly. I think that if you're going to spend X amount of dollars, you're much smarter to use Google.
I agree.
You know,
I agree.
Because Facebook is late to the game. You know, it's got a slick interface, so it makes you think that it's working really well. And maybe the Google interface is a little bit harder to get your head around because it's maybe not so visual. But I think I'd definitely go Google instead. And I've heard a lot of other people say that too. You know, here's a little insight. There's this event they have called Google Zeitgeist.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've heard of it.
It's sort of like TED. It's like their private TED event, and the only way to go to it is if you got to be like a CEO or CFO level, and you have to spend at least $25 million a year on AdWords. Okay, Google AdWords. And I don't spend that much. I was there because I was a speaker. But I was talking with all these other people, you know, we were doing these 0G flights, and you're just sitting by all these, you know, corporate types that run all these big companies. You're just talking about just random stuff. And so pretty much all of them I said, okay, well, obviously you spend big bucks on Google, your Google AdWords, right? I said, how's like Facebook advertising working for you? And every one of them was like, we don't spend any money on Facebook. It's a waste of time. Um, yeah.
Brilliant. Good.
Yeah.
So that echoes. Yeah. Good.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, that's that. But the other thing that I was concerned about, which I actually don't know how it's going to be instantiated yet, is next year they're changing something on Facebook where they're going to look at the kind of words you put into your, not your ads, but just your posts. Like if you're trying to sell your prints or you're trying to get people to buy stuff from you all the time, they're really going to punish you in the algorithm. Not just punish that one post, but punish future posts. So it looks like it's going to be pretty dire for artists next year on Facebook.
Yeah. And that, looking at if that's where they want to take the network, that's fine, right? But thank goodness there are other alternatives out there like Google. And then on that, Trey, I touched on a little bit with the MailChimp thing, and I say this in talks all the time that these social networks are awesome, and Google, with G+ obviously social network and the search algorithm and all that is awesome, but in the end, the all roads should lead to Rome, right? And you should be Rome, right? So, and in other words, you as the photographer, solopreneur, entrepreneur person should own the relationship as much as you can with the client or with your customer, and that means email, generally speaking, right? Because even like Trey, Trey's got 1 or 2 followers on G+. If one day Google decides to, Google Wave G+ and it goes away, then, that connection gets tenuous. But Trey is also smart enough to have an email list of people that he can reach out to and keep the discussion going that way and redirect people that were following him on G+ over to this new network where the party is now. So if you don't own that relationship, if you are 100% in bed or elbow deep into Facebook, or Google or whatever, and these networks vanish or they change their terms of service, or Mark Zuckerberg decides that he doesn't like people, that do this thing, and you're one of those people, then your business is, on a desert island at that point. So I try to stress that Twitter, Facebook, all these social networks out there, you want to have them and you want to grow the networks there, but you need to look at them as as roads that lead in to your island, into your Rome, where then you can then get them on a list and own the relationship.
Right on. Okay, so who would like to ask the first question? I see over here, I'm watching chat over here. Tanya, you want to go?
That's if my internet's working all right. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, cool. So this is perfectly timed because I just launched my website yesterday.
Congratulations.
So thank you. I have no idea, TanyaWallace.com, by the way. I have no idea on building an email base. So just touching on that, what you just mentioned to Trey then. Did you mention MailChimp, was it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a couple of services. Yeah, MailChimp, I'm a fan of MailChimp, but there's also Aweber, Constant Contact. And those tend to be the leaders. When you're choosing an email provider, they call them ESPs, email service providers. When you're choosing an email service provider, which you should do right now if you haven't, Tanya, pick one. And the main reason that you use these guys instead of just doing it all through Google Mail or through your mail client or whatever is because you're able to much better manage your lists, for one. Two, the idea of deliverability. And deliverability means when your mail goes from your computer to a routing server to its intended destination, there are decisions that get made along the way by these servers that say, yes, this is spam, this is not spam. This is going to get delivered, that's not going to get delivered. If you get flagged or your messages get flagged because you're sending too much mail that have exclamation points in the subject line, for example, your mail will just vanish into the ether, and it will never even get seen, and you won't even get a notification that it wasn't seen. It just goes away. So these ESPs have high deliverability rates, which means your mail generally gets through all the time. So that's the first thing. The second thing, or the third thing, so list management, deliverability. The third thing is the idea of automation. And in the world of email marketing, it's autoresponders. So, for example, with your site, say you're planning on blogging, every week or something, as you build your email list, you can set up what they call an autoresponder series, which is a series of emails that are programmed out over, you could do it over 3 years if you want, that go out on certain intervals based on when someone signs up for your list. So you could say, when Frederick gets on my list, the first email he gets is, hey, welcome to Tanya's email list. You're going to enjoy my blog. I suggest you start with this post. Click here. Have a good time. Blah, blah, blah. And then you could say at day 1 plus 4, so 4 days in, 5 days in, send him another email. I hope you're enjoying my email list. This is great. You might want to go look at this video that I posted online, blah, blah, blah. And then you could continue that. You could even stagger it out. So after those first 2, maybe a month later, you reach back again. So you sit down. So essentially you sit down over a week or so and you program an automated interaction with your audience over several months or maybe even years, so that then now you're hands off. So you're continuing to keep your list warm. So people are hearing from you all the time, but as a photographer, you're not emailing people. You're out shooting and doing other stuff. And then, with those, like MailChimp, for example, you have the automation going. On top of that, they have the feature it's called broadcasting. So that means you can send a mail out at will to your entire list or segments of your list. So you could say, all the program mails are going out, but I just released a blog post, so I want to tell everyone about it. So you write a quick message and you say, this is going to go out to all these people, send, and they get it. So it becomes the backbone and the way that you communicate with your audience. And your social media, of course, you want to drive those people back to your site and then put them on your list.
Okay.
Hey, cool site, by the way, Tanya. I just went there. I left a comment on your blog, and I noticed that you don't have this mailing list going yet. What happened? He just told you everything. It's so simple.
Sorry, I'll get on that.
Get that MailChimp. By the end of the show, MailChimp up and running on that blog. Come on. Stop messing around.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, it is beautiful. I'm looking at it now. I like it.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, go sign up. Most of these services have free trials, Tanya, like MailChimp. And Aweber and Constant Contact. And MailChimp is free for up to, they charge you by how many people are on your list, which you have 0 now. So, and then you don't start incurring fees until you, like in the case of MailChimp, go to 501, and then it'd be like $15 a month or something like that. But presumably at that point, if you have 500 people on your list, you can monetize them to pay for the cost of the service at that point. So, essentially the service becomes free forever. So, yeah,
So
I would definitely check those out.
Sorry, what's the adding process like? So do they add themselves through your website, or do you add them through your Outlook contacts? And
No. So the process is, yeah, we can go into it deeper in maybe another one, but essentially there's the concept of for lack of a better word, bait, or some people call it the ethical bribe. So you've seen this online millions of times, right? So you go to a site and you may see a form or a pop-up or something on there that says, hey, this is Tanya. I've got 5 amazing tips for getting great shots of, forest scenes, to get brand new sparkly, swankly, bodilicious shots of awesome things online. Download my free guide to doing this, or my thoughts on how I create these amazing images. Just put in your email address here and I'll send you the free guide. All right, that's it. They put in their email list, you upload the free guide to MailChimp, they get the PDF, they're on your list, and the conversation starts from that point. So what you want to avoid is putting people on your list that didn't explicitly ask to be on your list. Like, you meet people at a trade show. This happens to me all the time, and I hate it. But you'll meet people, and for some reason you give them your email address, and next thing you know, you're getting emails from them because they added you to their list. That's the quickest way to get spammed. It's like, don't put me on your list unless I ask explicitly to be on your list. And you want to maintain that kind of relationship, that level of trust with your customers.
Okay, I think Wes has a question next. Do you want to go for it, Wes?
Hey, Wes.
Yeah, sure. So first off, thanks for all the information you provided today. It's been fantastic. But
You're welcome.
the one critical thing that I keep wondering about at email is that more and more people are of the opinion that the next generation coming up doesn't do email. And to tell you a story, last night I was talking with my daughter, and she was looking at her Gmail account. She's like, "Oh, I have 841 unread messages," because she hasn't checked her email in months. And she was actually looking at it as a goal. She wants to hit 1,000 before she'll even consider looking at it. And so, how do you? The problem is everybody's going to the private, messengers. So you end up having to use Facebook, and you have to use Google Plus, and you have to use, in order to connect to all those people. And email is supposed to be this binding force, but I worry that eventually it's going to sort of go away. And right now, I don't think the target audience is 14-year-olds for me. So that's okay. But in the long run, as those people migrate up, I'm worried about how we're going to maintain that constant contact type of relationship. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I do. I mean, you can't look at it. At least I don't look at the audience as just one mass of people that I need to speak to with one megaphone, right? So I know that the largest and the best megaphone that I can use for my audience, at least, is email right now, and that's the best way to kind of keep that contact going back and forth. But I'm not so myopic as to think that these other ways, like Facebook and Twitter and all those guys, aren't reaching out as well. So, for that kind of stuff, yeah, be as many places as you can, but just keep in your head. Like in my head, I have this, this diagram of the world that is TWIP and Frederick Van right here, and Facebook is a little dot, and Twitter is a little dot, out here, and they're all pointing in like planets around my sun, rather than, rather than the reverse. Think of it like that.
Right.
And then the other thing that I do is I take pages. I learn from everyone. People like Trey have been amazingly impactful on the stuff that I do, and Trey specifically, because people like Trey, people like Thomas Hawk, and other online solopreneurs and creative people that are doing this kind of stuff, the one trait that I see from folks like this is experimentation and lack of fear when it comes to trying new things and new networks specifically. So Trey will rush head into a new network and establish a beachhead while other people are still complaining about the fact that there's another network there. So you need to be that person too, to go in and be the first person in there to experiment and try new things out and see what these things are. It's painful sometimes, like with like Vine, for example. It's painful to be on a network like that with a bunch of 15-year-olds, but you have to, at least see what the conversations might be changing into.
Right. No, that makes sense. So, do you have do you feel the same way about content? Like, do you experiment with the type of content that you put into your mass marketing and via email and stuff like that? So, do you have any advice for what's working really well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, video right now is the latest thing. As a when I put on my hat, and when I say video, I don't mean like Frederick's trying to change into Vincent LaFerre or some filmmaker or whatever. But I'm seeing more and more that I grew up shooting film, and you obviously you're limited there, right? So you're limited to the audience that can see the final work, because they actually physically come see it back then. But you're also limited in what you could do and how you could express yourself as an artist. I throw around this term of the multimediographer, and it's becoming more and more true that we as photographers and image makers aren't, like, the camera is not the only thing that we can use to tell the story of either a scene or an event entirely. We have all kinds of data at our fingertips, whether it be motion with our iPhones, with shooting 4K with our cameras, or capturing audio and kind of weaving all that stuff together. So I've lately been on this quest of understanding from a photographer's perspective, somebody that likes creating still images and, those sorts of things, what are the best tools to do that? I'm experimenting with Final Cut Pro 10, with Adobe Audition on the sound side, and all these different tools that are here now that weren't here just a few years ago that we can use to make some insanely cool stuff. So yeah, I think the medium and things that you use to promote and what you promote it's an art form just like photography. I mean, if you look at even screencasting, if you look at screencast tutorials right now, I was talking to Renee Robin. She's another photographer friend of mine. I was talking to her, and she's like, "Yeah, I want to start doing screencast tutorials and show people my compositing workflow. But you know what? I don't want to be like everybody else that's doing these screencasting tutorials, you know." So I said, "Why don't you look at screencasting as an art form, you know, instead of as a platform? Look at it as an art form and dive in and do something entirely different." No one says that you have to sit there and narrate your cursor, you know. You could do something insanely cool and different and put your own stamp on it. So, you know, I mean, yeah, if you look at it from that standpoint, then things change a little bit, because now, you know, you're not just copying what you've seen done on lynda.com for a tutorial, you're doing something entirely different.
So I thought you were going to take that a different direction, Fred. You know, we're talking about how to access young people on the internet, how to market to them. I thought you were going to announce your new PDF ebook all about photography marketing through Tinder.
No, I haven't revealed that yet, Tracy. You blew my marketing bubble. Thank you.
Yeah, I thought what you did is you just kind of held your phone sideways, and then the pictures would come up, and then you would just funnel them down. And it's like, these are all potential marketing contacts that might buy my stuff.
No, we're not going that way. Yeah, we can do a co-marketing agreement with you and your NAMBLA ebook, right?
Yeah, no, that didn't sell very well. It did. It sold great in a few key markets. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So cool. I hope that was helpful.
It was.
Does someone have a final question we want to ask the man here?
I'll talk all day if you let me.
I had a list of 10.
I have
Somebody else had to go.
I had a quick question.
Sure, go for it.
And this has to do with the Facebook conversation as well. And we've been talking about it in our cohort a little bit about kind of broadening our network. So, for example, I joined G+ through the Arcanum, and I really hadn't been active on there at all. But now all of the followers and people I interact with on G+ are photographers. Now, that's not going to be my market necessarily. So, how do you break out into a different market, reach different people than those who are just trying to learn about photography or do photography themselves? And this has to do with my, Facebook. We've got a Facebook page, and I've noticed that when we initially started it, we were getting a lot of interaction for the first few posts, and then as it's been going on, we've been getting less and less interaction. And I'm wondering if it's just showing up less and less in people's feeds and that kind of thing. And so Facebook is something where I've got a more general audience that perhaps might want to buy something to put on their wall or something to kind of. I had one person ask about using an image as a book cover or something like that. But with these changes to Facebook, I'm getting a little concerned and trying to figure out how to reach that broader market.
Yeah, I mean, from a high level, you got to look at this stuff as social media at its salt is a conversation, right? And a lot of mistakes that beginning marketers, experienced photographers that are just now trying to, market themselves that they make is they will. Historically, we as photographers seek validation and feedback on our work, right? That's what we post online and see how many likes and people get feedback on it and that sort of thing. If you need to kind of sit back and look internally and think, okay, what are my goals? Like, what am I trying to do with my work? Is my work social, meaning I just want interaction, which means let's go to Flickr, or I just want, I'm trying to get clients, So, and I'm a gallery. I want to get a gallery installation, or I am a wedding photographer. So, have the conversation with you. What is it that who are you trying to reach? So, in the case of your ultimate goal in 2015 is to get a gallery show. So, who do you need to be talking to? So that will inform the vernacular and the avatar of the person that you're talking to. All of your posts should be talking to that person, not other photographers. If you're a wedding photographer and you're online because you are trying to book more weddings, don't post about how awesome your new camera is and it has all these bells and whistles, because brides don't care about that, right? You need to shift it. Even if you know other photographers are going to be reading this, shift it towards the vernacular of speaking to a bride. Like, these are the best ways to make sure you look best in front of the camera. Those sorts of things. So it's a subtle shift. And when even some authors, like I know a bunch of people that have written books, and what they'll do, one of the techniques that they do, including a friend of mine, actually he turned me onto this. He's an author. He used to write for the New York Times. He's at Yahoo now. His name's David Pogue, and he used to tell me that he has a photo on his computer of the avatar of the person that he's speaking to when he's writing. So he'll glance up at that photo every now and then, and it works magic to shift the words that you pick and the sentence structure and the tone. So instead of being preachy about a particular topic, you're like, oh, that's my grandfather. Okay, let me shift down a little bit and to the left. Or if your audience is technical, right? You have a picture of somebody who's smarter than you up there, and you're writing specifically to them. Even with video, same thing. When you're recording, if you're recording a video, you want to have an avatar of a person that you're talking to. So that kind of keep that in mind as you're crafting these posts. And also, one last thing on that. One little tip is a lot of people, when they're writing posts or emails for that matter, Tanya, when you're writing your emails, don't write your emails you're not standing on a soapbox talking to a crowd, or it's not your inauguration speech and you're like, hello everyone. Even your social media posts, don't write to many people. Always write to one person. Write in the singular. You're having a single conversation with one person, no matter if you've got 2 million followers. When you write, it should be to one person, because guess what? On the other end, there's only one person reading what you wrote. It's not a crowd of people. So keep that in mind when you're writing, and it will shift and it will make your work more personal. And on the email side, it will get your emails open more if you say, hey, dude, I want to tell you about this cool new thing that I figured out. It's really awesome. Rather than, hey, everybody, I just found out this cool new thing. It makes it much more personal.
Good advice there, Fred. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. That was awesome. Thank you, Fred. You're awesome as usual. Don't you know?
I talk a lot.
No, it's okay. We can hear you forever. You're always gold. Always internet gold.
I'll leave you with this. This stuff is part of my passion. Is this stuff, as you can tell. So my brain is comprised of photography first and foremost, or image content creation or whatever, but it's also the science and the psychology of marketing, because it's that's the other half of this stuff, and it's fascinating how you can either convince people to do something or purchase something, and how do you do that without being a sleazeball and without being pretentious or overbearing. How do you make that happen? But then it's on the photography side of it, it's also like I was doing a model shoot. This sounds cool. I was in LA yesterday doing a model shoot. And I was doing a model shoot, and you realize how cool it is to be behind the camera, actually being the artisan, and the psychology of, there's that word again, the psychology of the interaction between you and the subject, and how do you elicit the pose and the bring their guard down so you can get the shot that you want. It's the same thing with marketing. So it's all roads lead to psychology.
That's a good point. Yeah, I think it's good to, as people are learning about marketing and stuff, I think it's fine to read books and watch videos and that stuff. But yeah, I would do things that you read about, things you don't think you need to read about, like weird sciencey stuff, and that actually provides a lot of really interesting insights. It's helped to guide some decisions that I made.
Yeah, and the zeitgeist of what's going on in the world today. What was it, like a year ago, well, like 18 months ago, I killed my cable. So I shut down. I was like, I don't need cable. I got Hulu, I got Netflix, I've got all this other stuff. I can get all the entertainment I need through my internet pipe, right?
Right.
But what I lost was, except, Hulu notwithstanding, what I lost was the connection to what's not so much news-wise, but what kind of the zeitgeist of the creative stuff that's going on in the world today with like commercials and, oh, they're doing this now. Oh, I'm seeing a lot of motion tracking and, so I turned cable back on just to see that, just to kind of see what other, what are they doing in commercials? How are they editing television shows these days? And what are the popular TV shows and why? So it was weird to kind of check out for a while and then check back in and say, whoa, and I checked back in specifically. Yeah, Dave, Game of Thrones. And I checked back in specifically because I'm sitting in the barbershop, and they've got all the TVs up there, and I'm like, waiting my turn and watching the commercials, like, wow, look at that, I didn't know about that. I felt like I've been out of the country forever, and I'm like I'm like, wow, look at all this cool stuff that's happening. I had no idea about it. Yeah. So yeah, it's important to stay plugged in. What's
Yeah, I know
that?
what you
What?
mean.
You turned cable back on just to get advertising.
That's what I did, and I'm buying magazines again just to see what other people are doing. And I was like, magazines. I got the internet. What do I need this dead tree stuff for? But then you go to the bookstore and you pick out a couple of these magazines. You're like, whoa, look at all this cool stuff. I had no idea it was happening. So you gotta, you can't be binary with this stuff. You have to. You can do more than another one, but you can't totally turn things off. Was my takeaway from it.
All right. Well, we'll wrap it up here. Thank you, Fred. Thank you, everyone, from
You're
the
welcome.
Level 20 Lounge. And we can all just kind of wave goodbye now. All right, from our little Brady Bunch squares.
Bye. Hope you guys liked it. Hope this was helpful.
You bet. All right. Bye.
It was.
All
Thank you.
right. See you guys.